everyone, and welcome to this channel once again. And this is the second episode of content creation, whereby we are just passing through some of the key issues that we need to focus on before we start creating our content. The previous episode we talked about whether creativity is teachable and whether an equipment or latest technology really matters in your creative field. And if you've not watched that video, I really request you to watch that video before you continue with this, because it will be just a foundation to this particular episode. So today I'm going to talk about target audience. What really is target audience? It is very important. Target audience is the only most important thing, because you're creating something for people to consume, and you must have identified the specific target audience that you're targeting with this particular content, this kind of photography, this kind of sculptures, whichever thing you're doing in your creative industry, you must have created an audience for it. And there are few issues that we need to tackle before we even go forward through this content creation. The first one is identifying the niche. Once you know the niche, so you have a specific location, you have a specific target group, you have their set of behaviors that you've already identified, that you can tap on and begin to persuade, to inform, to create content so that they can really be reached and expect for an outcome from it. So it is really important for you to know your audience. Your target audience is a primary issue. And how do we identify it? We identify by doing something called mapping. Mapping exercise is a set of parameters that gives the correct data of the specific audience that you're targeting. So if you know that you're going to be, let's say, creating a film about behavioral change for specific teens in a specific location, it has to be detailed and specific to that particular people, so that you know their behaviors, you know the people who are actually going to be influencers, and that is the second part. So in mapping we have the central question, then that is the target question. The second one is going to be influencers. So you know who are the influencers that are influencing these particular people to behave in a certain way. Example of influencers is community leaders. For example, you can have a question that says, why do the youth in Nairobi, which is a capital city in Kenya, find themselves in conflicts or engage themselves in violent activities during election periods? So you can see that is a very specific question that you have already formulated. It's a central, it's a target question. So you have a target audience that you have that has a behavior that is freely chosen. So it's not enforced on them. The behavior of fighting during the political time, it is a freely chosen behavior. It's not enforced on them. So the question is, why do this particular youth in Nairobi especially engage themselves in fighting and conflicts during political or political rallies or election periods? That can be a question. The influencers can be the politicians, for example. When you go to that politician, the agreed realities is that maybe this young person who is fighting is thinking of themselves in the eyes of the politician, that politician values me. So they are thinking that there is some value addition when they engage in fighting because of that political situation. And then when you go to the other level, which is the emotional payoffs, is that they feel powerful because they have a powerful leader who is protecting them. So if it's a specific political party, if it wins, this particular person thinks that they will be in power. So they feel powerful. So that is a line that you've already chosen to go through. So you can just follow that story, follow that line of direction to create content in that line. And then the third thing is something called the agreed realities. What are the factors that these people think their influencers think of them? They don't have to be the realities that you as a content creator agrees with, but them as the audience that you are targeting, they actually agree with. For example, if a teen, for example, is in a set group and he's been going through something called peer pressure, they will tend to do some things so that they look on the same level. So they are thinking of themselves as level, on that level field with their other counterparts in that way. So that is just an agreed reality. They are thinking that if I start smoking because my friend smokes, he will think of me as a mate. So that is an agreed reality that is also a factor that you have to think of when you're doing your mapping exercise. And the last thing is something that we call emotional payoffs. At the end of the day, people need to be entertained, they feel good or they feel bad with whichever piece of art that you're creating. So if it's a content that you're trying to change a behavior from a negative, it has to be a positive. So if the behavior, if the emotional payoff is going to be positive, more people will tend to appreciate your content. If it's going to be negative, then a lot of people will tend to run away from that particular content. So target audience is very important because there is no specific content, one content that they say one fits all. So you cannot create a content that is for everybody to consume. It has to be a targeted content so that it can be effective. When people are actually watching that documentary, that feature story, they are enjoying, they are learning something. It is changing their behaviors in a certain way. It has to be specific. So you cannot be specific if you do not have a specified mapped, a specified target audience that is already mapped. So till we meet again, this is it for today.